Hillcrest is supposed to feel empty. It's a quiet suburb swallowed by trees, rain, and rot. But the moment Ellie steps into it, the silence isn't peaceful. It's aftermath. Something happened here. Something bad enough that even the wolves want to forget about it. Before Ellie ever meets a single soldier, before she finds the bow, before we even know the name Boris, Hillcrest has already been destroyed from the inside. Because buried in this neighborhood are pieces of a story, notes left behind by people who once trusted each other and then tore themselves apart. A father with a legendary aim, a daughter with too much hope, a community trying to survive between Fedra and the WLF, and a betrayal so violent that the town never recovered. Today we're gonna follow Ellie's footsteps and uncover Hillcrest the way the game gives it to us. Fragmented, chaotic, and out of order. Then we'll go back, put every piece together, and tell the real story. The rise of Boris, the fall of Hillcrest, and why this tiny forgotten neighborhood became one of the darkest tragedies in The Last of Us Part 2. Ellie wakes up in the theater to the crackling sounds of a radio. It leads her to Dina, sick, exhausted, and pregnant. They share a moment of forgiveness for the fight they had last night, saying how it was stupid. And then we find out that Dina has been tracking the movements of the WLF. She discovers that the numbers they use are locations. Suddenly, we hear over the radio of casualties in Site 14. There are no reports of it being scars. Instead, the wolves call it a lone male trespasser, so Ellie assumes it to be Tommy. Dina takes a guess on Site 14 being Hillcrest, and Ellie sets out on her way.
Wait. Give me your hand. It's for good luck.
I don't believe in luck.
I do.
Okay, Hillcrest. Is this the right place? Definitely the right place.
Ellie steps into Hillcrest already thinking she's chasing Tommy, but what she really finds is a neighborhood that tells its own story before she ever sees a single enemy. The first real sign of life comes in a small clothing shop. It's cozy, almost untouched, a place that should feel safe. But what stands out isn't the merchandise, it's what's left behind. A trophy for exceptional archery skill made out to a man named Boris Legasov, sitting next to a sketch with the words "Happy birthday, Dad, the best clicker killer in the whole QZ." This already hits different. This isn't just world building, this is love. Hillcrest wasn't just occupied territory, it was a home. And Boris wasn't just a name we'll find on scraps of paper. He was somebody's hero. The room around it reinforces that image. A workbench with a neat, solid setup and a rain catcher rigged with care. This isn't a man who survives by accident. This is someone who keeps others alive. And before Ellie even leaves the store, the outline of a tragedy starts to form. Ellie climbs a truck and almost gets spotted by wolves chasing that mysterious trespasser. She drops into a new area and sees a wall with graffiti. Right beside it is a note from someone named Yolanda. Boris, wolves broke into Fedra HQ and found the enlisted rosters. I've heard they're starting to knock on doors. I'm not gonna be executed in my own town. After things calm down, I'll try to return with a new name. I couldn't find Alfie. I put his food on your back porch. In case I don't come back, give him lots of scratches for me. He always loved you and Sophia. This is the first moment where Hillcrest feels like it's cracking. Fedra lost the war to the wolves, and the people who lived here, the people who believed in Hillcrest, are suddenly at the mercy of whoever shows up with guns. Yolanda's trust in Boris shows how he was likely a contributing member of the neighborhood. Hillcrest is still holding together, just barely. Down the street, we come across the Caroline paper store. Inside is the need a plan note. Boris, the wolves were supposed to make things better. The military hoarded all the resources, controlled what we said, told us what job to do. And so far, the wolves are doing the same exact thing. And now they're talking about moving everyone to the stadium? I grew up in this town. I survived the outbreak in this town. I'm not moving to some refugee camp where some asshole tells me when I can or can't wipe my own ass. This is my home. We need a plan. We can't settle for the same thing. Yuli. Yuli admits the wolves were supposed to be better than Fedra. Less control, less tyranny, safety, more freedom. But now the WLF is trying to move everyone to the stadium, and he refuses. This is exactly how communities fall apart, not from a single blow, but from disappointment, from the realization that the thing you fought for is turning into the thing you fought against. You can feel Yuli trying to rally the neighborhood, trying to hold on to their identity, but not everyone is ready for that fight. Ellie pushes deeper into their neighborhood, fighting through wolves and unfortunately their dogs. She eventually reaches a bicycle shop. Inside is the condolences note that takes a bad turn. Boris, I'm so sorry. What those wolves did to Sophia was horrifying. I can't help but feel somewhat responsible. I've been getting the town so riled up about standing our ground against them. When she started spray painting over their rules, I didn't discourage her hard enough. I kept it from you. I thought she'd stop. I know you want to retaliate against the wolves. Believe me, I feel the same way. But we can't. Not now. We've got to be smart. Let things cool down. People will be looking to you for how to handle this. You were a leader here after the outbreak. I need you to be a leader again. Let's not let everything we fought for be in vain. Yuli. This is the moment the tragedy fully reveals itself. Sophia didn't die in crossfire. She didn't get infected. She was executed for graffiti. A child killed to send a message. And the girl who once drew birthday cards for her dad is now suddenly gone. You can feel Yuli breaking under guilt. You can feel Boris breaking under grief. And you can feel the entire neighborhood shifting under the weight of what the WLF is capable of. This is where the bleeding out of Hillcrest begins. Up ahead in more buildings are more pieces to the story. The tattoo shop introduces a new character, the Brandmans. Yuli, you know our hearts will always be with Hillcrest, but after Sophia's shooting, we've decided to head to the stadium with the others. We've got our own kids to think about. P.S. Saw Boris a couple hours ago. We tried talking to him, but he seemed off. Please talk to him. I hope you guys will join us. Residents are leaving for the stadium, not because they trust the WLF, but because they have their own families to protect. Sophia's shooting scared them too much to stay. This is how grief consumes a town. Some people fight, some people run, some people watch their neighbors make choices they don't know how to stop. The WLF was willing to kill anyone who opposed them, including children. Boris is unraveling, Hillcrest is breaking, and the wolves haven't even finished tightening their grip yet. In a nearby dog store, we find a very casual note, but its implications are heavy. When Dale comes by, he's gonna ask for the safe combo, but just walk over to the garage and put it in yourself. Otherwise, he's gonna bother you 8 more times. Someone needs to talk to his wife. I know she wants to think he's gonna get better, but it's time to get practical. I heard the WLF have some real doctors at their base. Nobody would blame her for leaving, except Boris. But fuck him. This is painful because it's human. Fear and grief is isolating the community. Soon enough, the people you fought beside start seeing you as a liability. Boris is slowly losing his respect. The neighborhood doesn't see him as a leader anymore. People have sick loved ones and the WLF have doctors. They're desperate for help, even if it means joining the very group that killed their neighbor's daughter. Hillcrest is no longer united. It's just a group of terrified people grasping for a solution that doesn't exist. We press forward and find the note that completely seals the fate of Hillcrest. Yuli, it was Boris. I saw him shoot that WLF patrol against their own van. Jesus, I get it. They killed his daughter, but he just signed our death warrant. We have one chance out of this. We turn him in. I know he's your friend, but if they shot that girl over some graffiti, think of what they'll do to all of us if they think we're harboring the killer of 3 of their own. Let's meet at the usual place after curfew, X. This is where the heartbreak becomes irreversible. Hillcrest isn't choosing sides anymore. It's choosing survival. They don't want a war with the WLF, so they plan to sacrifice Boris for the safety of the neighborhood. And in that choice, the community Boris fought for chooses to destroy him. This betrayal is the spark that ignites everything that follows. Next, we reach a house and find the final note, the confession. Yolanda, I'm sorry. I won't be able to keep taking care of Alfie. You were right about the wolves. They turned out to be worse than the military. What I didn't expect is that our own neighborhood would turn on each other. They all saw what the wolves did to my poor Sophia. And what did everyone want to do in return? Appease? I deserved wolf blood. They should have joined me. Instead, they conspired against me. So I got them first. I poisoned them, one by one. Not enough to kill them, just put them to sleep. And then I dragged them into a spoiled garage. Yuli woke up. I shut him come in there, but he bit me. Those traitors are gonna watch each other turn. They will suffer. I hope they think of me when they lose their minds. I'm already starting to lose mine. It won't be long now. I hope you found peace somewhere outside of this shitty town. I hope you don't come back to see all of this. If you do, I'm sorry, Boris. Besides the WLF, there's no villain here. Only people pushed past their breaking point. A grieving father, a terrified community with an oppressive militia tightening the noose.
Jesus.
Hillcrest didn't fall overnight. It didn't crumble because of infected or bandits or some sudden disaster. It fell the way real communities fall, slowly, painfully, one fracture at a time. And the best place to start is with a sketch made by a little girl. The earliest piece of the puzzle is Sophia's drawing, a sketch of a man surrounded by trophies and equipment. It tells us three simple things, but they define everything that comes later. Boris was an expert archer long before the outbreak. After the outbreak, he became the most reliable infected killer in Hillcrest. His daughter, Sophia, adored him and the neighborhood admired him. This wasn't just a father surviving with his kid. This was a man who became a pillar of the community. It's amazing how much weight a sketch can carry. We don't even see Sophia in the game, but we feel her through her words, and it paints Boris as one of the rare people who made the apocalypse better for others, not worse. Next in the timeline is Yolanda's note. This is post-Fedra, post-uprising. The wolves have taken control of Seattle, including Hillcrest. Fedra's old files have been exposed, and anyone who once served is suddenly a target, Yolanda being one of them, so she flees the neighborhood in fear of execution. But before she goes, she leaves her dog, Alfie, with Boris and Sophia, trusting them more than anyone else. That detail matters. It tells us Hillcrest wasn't just a cluster of houses. It was a real community with real bonds. This is the moment the safety of Hillcrest becomes an illusion. The people who once protected them, or at least pretended to, are gone, and the group that replaced them might be even worse. Then comes the need a plan note. At first, the wolves promised freedom, less control, less authoritarian rule, but it didn't take long for their real selves to surface. They hoarded resources, demanded obedience, and forced relocation to the stadium. The Hillcrest residents felt betrayed, especially people like Ellie, who survived the outbreak right here in this neighborhood and refuses to be displaced. This is where resistance starts forming, quietly, passively, but genuinely. Next comes the turning point, the condolences letter. Ellie has been stirring up the town, encouraging Hillcrest to stand its ground. Not necessarily wage war, but not bow down either. Sophia listens. She's young, passionate, angry, and brave enough to act. So she spray paints over the wolves' posted rules, and the WLF responds the way all authoritarian forces respond. They kill her. Not arrest, not intimidate, not teach a lesson. They shoot a kid to prove a point. This single act destroys the community's morale and destroys Boris. Ellie, guilt-ridden, begs Boris not to retaliate, but that plea doesn't fix anything. This is where Hillcrest truly dies. Not the day Boris poisons his neighbors, not the day wolves arrive, but the day Sophia is killed. Because when a militia kills your child for graffiti, trust is gone forever. After Sophia's execution, the first wave of families break. The tattoo shop note from the Brandmans revealed the aftermath. Their neighborhood is in shock and families with kids leave for the stadium. They no longer believe Hillcrest can protect them. Boris is also visibly collapsing. They tried talking to him, but he wasn't there anymore. And who could really blame him? To make things even worse, this is the moment people stop seeing him as a leader and more as a liability. Boris loses his daughter and then loses his community. Grief isolates him and fear isolates everyone else. It's a double breakdown happening at the exact same time. Then we have the Dale's combo note, which adds a more grounded human complication. Some Hillcrest residents have sick loved ones. They hear WLF doctors can actually help them, and while they don't like the wolves, they're running out of options. This note also shows how the neighborhood now views Boris. Once again, fear and desperation override loyalty. This is extremely realistic writing. Communities don't implode all at once. It's hundreds of tiny personal needs pulling people in different directions. friends until unity is impossible. Next in the timeline is the turn-in Boris note. Boris finally retaliates. He ambushes a WLF patrol and kills them. Maybe it felt righteous, maybe it felt necessary, or maybe he didn't care anymore. But what matters is that nobody joined him. Instead, the neighbors who once admired him panic and decide the only way to survive is to hand Boris over. They arrange a meeting preparing to betray him, and this is where our tragedy shifts from political to personal. Boris isn't just fighting the wolves anymore, he's fighting the people he once protected. The final note, the confession, completes the tragedy. Boris learns that his neighbors are turning him in. He realizes that after everything they survived together, after everything he's done for them, they've chosen fear over loyalty. But he decides not to let that happen. He drugs them one by one, just enough to put them unconscious. Then he drags them into a spore-filled garage and locks the door. But Yuli woke up. They had a little tussle and Yuli bit him. Boris knows he's infected. Knowing he's done for, he writes his final letter to Yolanda, apologizing, explaining and mourning what Hillcrest has become. And then he seals himself in the garage and turns. This ending is brutal because it isn't revenge for Sophia, it's a revenge for betrayal. This is what happens when a community collapses against itself. Everyone loses, everyone dies, and the neighborhood rots from the inside out.
Fuck was that? Looks like they've been locked in here for years.
Ellie eventually reaches that garage. Inside waits a stalker, fast, aggressive, filled with all the rage and instinct of a father who lost everything. Ellie manages to kill him, and on his back is the bow. The same bow from his daughter's drawing. A final reminder of the man he used to be. Not a monster, not a killer, just a father who couldn't survive the world's cruelty. Hillcrest isn't only memorable because of the combat encounters or the set pieces, but also because of what it quietly says about the people who live there. More than any other neighborhood in The Last of Us Part 2, Hillcrest captures the exact moment a community realizes it's dying and still tries to pretend it isn't. And that's what makes it so human. Every note Ellie finds here feels like a goodbye letter no one wanted to finish. People apologizing for things they shouldn't have to apologize for. Being afraid, uncertain, being human in a world that keeps punishing humanity. Hillcrest represents what happens when the apocalypse stops being an event and becomes a steady suffocation. There are no big climactic moments in the neighborhood's downfall, just tiny fractures. A father saying I'm sorry, a neighbor admitting I thought joining them would help, a family leaving shoes by the door because they truly believed they'd be back. This is the finale of a normal life, and Ellie walks through all of it like a ghost, someone drifting through the aftermath of disasters she had nothing to do with, but still feels responsible for, because she knows what loss is. She knows the shape of an empty room. She knows the pain of someone leaving without saying goodbye. Hillcrest hits differently because it mirrors Ellie's internal collapse. Every house is a version of her. Every note is a fear she's already felt. Every family trying to stay together is something she's already lost. And then there's the WLF. What makes them terrifying in Hillcrest isn't their strength. It's how familiar they are to the area, their patrols, their dogs, their strategies. These aren't the actions of mindless raiders. These are the actions of people trying to impose order on something broken. People who believe they're doing the right thing, even as that right thing forces entire neighborhoods to empty out. Hillcrest isn't a war zone. It's a place the WLF bled dry, and the people who lived there weren't soldiers. They weren't rebels or heroes. They were parents, pet owners, neighbors, kids who outgrew their swing sets too soon, people who survived the first apocalypse only to die in the second, the one where ideology replaced community. The most painful theme of Hillcrest is that everyone thought they had more time. Time to return home, time to fix a mistake, time to repair relationships, time to choose a different side, time to say goodbye. A neighborhood that tried to hold itself together until its very last breath. A father who went from being the man everyone trusted to the man everyone feared, to the man Ellie had to put down in a dark garage, both still strapped to his back like a memory no one got to keep. Boris didn't die because he was reckless. He died because he loved something he wasn't able to protect anymore. And in a world like this, that's the most dangerous thing you can do. Hillcrest shows us how really thin the line is between community and collapse, between neighbors and enemies, between the right thing and the thing you do because it's the only thing left. But I want to thank you guys for watching. How do you feel about Hillcrest and its collapse? Let me know in the comments. As always, keep watching the dark because it's definitely watching you.
What the hell are you doing here?
I think I'd let you do this on your own.